Allô, je suis GOWAN de Styx. Vous écoutez Profile Radio, CKEA-FM.
The new Styx album, The Mission, was released on June 16th. We're privileged of having brand new Styx music to listen to. Thanks for taking time through your busy touring schedule to answer Profile's questions.
Mon plaisir toujours.
What can you tell us about the theme or the concept behind the story of the album?
Sure. I'll have to parler en anglais for that.
Yeah, sure.
Well, Mark, it's over a couple of years ago, Tommy Shaw came in one day with a song called Mission to Mars. And I liked the song immediately. I thought this is a nice little piece. But it went along with all the other new pieces that we have that we never got around to releasing because we play over usually 120 shows a year. So we just haven't had time to make a full studio album, but I really liked that piece. And a few weeks later, he was working with a friend of his who's a producer, and he had a second piece called Locomotive.
Mm-hmm.
And the notion arose that we would make this a concept record about a mission to Mars. Then, a few months later, we were invited by NASA to witness, after a 9-year voyage, a spacecraft known as the New Horizons had arrived at the planet Pluto, and they had discovered a fifth moon going around Pluto, and they decided to call it Styx.
Oh.
So I thought, well, everything's like lining. The stars are all lining up for us here, because I think the story is that once they leave Mars, they go on to perhaps the moon Styx and beyond Pluto, and perhaps it's a one-way mission. So that became the theme of the record, and from that point forward, we continued to work on the writing. And I got more involved in it as they began to flesh out the idea,
mm-hmm.
and eventually that was where the concept of the record sat. But where we really felt comfortable with it, and where we really thought it was worthy, was that you didn't really need to know the concept in order to enjoy the songs. They stood well as individual pieces. And, well, at least that's what we believed, and that's kind of been the reaction so far from people, and it's the highest charting album, even in the first week, for Styx in about 30 years.
Yeah, I believe it came out in number 6 in the States, is that right?
Yeah.
That's pretty
amazing.
Good. Some people say that this album is more prog-ish compared to the other Styx albums, while the other people would think otherwise, but what's your opinion on that?
Well, I've always been drawn to the more prog elements of Styx before I joined the band. I've been in the band now nearly 2 decades. So, but when I joined, I mean, even in my solo days prior to Styx, even though my songs came out in the 80s, I was always trying to introduce some little element of prog in there, and that's part of why I worked with, Tony Levin and Jerry Marotta from Peter Gabriel's band, mm-hmm. and John Anderson from Yes, and mm-hmm. Alex Lifeson from Rush. So I was always drawn to, that's my favorite type of music.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And and that element of Styx, that's really what attracted me to the band to begin with. So I love 2 things. I love concept records, and I love anything that's got anything to do with progressive rock. I'm very much at home in that setting, and and made my contributions accordingly.
Okay. So that's your comfort zone.
That is my comfort zone, yes.
Oh, that's good. Concerning your solo albums, I've always preferred the first one before the Criminal Mind. Really, it's my favorite throughout all your solo albums.
Oh, well, fantastic. I love hearing that. So you like the self-titled one that came out in 1982.
Oh, yeah, it's a pearl.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, that was an attempt. That with the first record, you're always trying something. That was basically an attempt to bring together some progressive rock elements with some very kind of pop rock, mentality. Because when the 80s were starting, that's really, people wanted things short and sweet and mm-hmm. kind of, at that point they wanted them pretty punchy. So that's, I'm very glad that you even know that record exists, because I know it's funny though, Mark, people that know of that record, a good number of them will say that's their favorite GOWAN album, and I'd love to hear that.
Well, it's less radio friendly and more, how could I say that, maybe more personal.
In a lot of ways. I mean, now you're making me think about it. it was not a hit on the radio, and it didn't catch on commercially. But over the years, yeah, people discover it, and they tend to like it, especially if they like, there's a lot of heavy guitar on there from Kim Mitchell.
Yeah.
And thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. Some of the band members mentioned throughout the promotions that we saw throughout internet that the sound goes back to the albums The Grand Illusion and the Pieces of Eight. I thought that there were more references to the Equinox album. I don't know what you think about that.
I think that's a good observation, Mark. I think that Tommy Shaw was very much a fan of the Equinox album. That's the album when he joined the band shortly after they'd made that album.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he's not on Equinox, that's kind of his. It's funny because he refers to that record a lot as to what made him so excited to join Styx.
Okay.
And the next album that came out was Crystal Ball, so he had the title track to that one. But I don't disagree with you. There's a lot of pretty guitar-driven songs on this record, on The Mission, and much like Equinox. And then there are big, bold pieces like The Red Storm, or even in some ways, even though it's more ballad-like, but The Greater Good is a little bit like that as well. So I see a basic tie between Equinox and Pieces of Eight. Somewhere between those two records, I think this album, kind of fits sonically.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, it still sounds like the present day to me, because this lineup of Styx that's been in existence now for, well, the latest guy to join was Ricky Phillips, and that's like 15 years ago.
Yeah, he's the baby one.
Yeah, that's right.
Why did it take so long before you recorded new Styx material?
Well, there's really several reasons for that. The first one, the one reason it's not applicable is that we didn't have any new material, because we had a lot of new material. We had a lot of new ideas and new songs and new pieces that we were constantly playing. But the dilemma, which is a very happy one, is that the demand to see Styx around the world is pretty insatiable. We could play 365 days a year if we chose to. But, when I joined the group, JY and Tommy and Chuck, they said, look, we don't want to ever play less than 100 shows a year. They'd never even played 100 shows up until that point. And I said, well, I always play 100 at least. I think the year before I joined Styx, in 1998, I played 140.
Okay.
So I said, yeah, that'll be cutting back for me. And that's the pace that we stayed on. And the problem with that is that if you want to take the rest of the year, every single day that's remaining, and make a studio record, then you can do that. But we just chose not to. We thought it's going to eat up our entire year, and we'll never have any time off the road, and that's not good for you, because ultimately that can lead to the demise of a band if you feel that you're overpressured and overworked like that. And the demand for a classic rock band like from the era of Styx to make new music is not very high, because classic rock radio generally stays away from playing new things. It's a funny situation. They play all these classic rock bands, but if they come out with something new, they're very reluctant to play anything new. Mm-hmm. And secondly, the audience out there, they really want to hear the classic albums. And so with all of that, we decided instead to just keep putting out live DVDs and to do some re-recording. And we did release one or two songs individually over the last 14 years, just as one-offs. But finally, when this concept came up and these songs arose, we realized, why don't we just make the record at our own pace? So we did it over a 2-year period. And if we don't love it at the end, we don't have to put it out. And so
you had no stress.
Yeah, we got into it. Eventually, when we got towards the end, we all looked at each other and went, I love this, and I can't wait for it to come out, no matter what the reaction is. And we kind of felt confident that there were going to be a large number of people out there who would respond well to it. And so far, with 2 weeks in, that's been the case, and we're all extremely happy that we did it.
The couple of songs you said you wrote there that weren't recorded, which songs are they?
Oh, well, no. On this record, the only songs that we kind of played around with before deciding to make a record were Mission to Mars and Locomotive. Oh, no, that's not true. About 3 years ago, we were working on The Greater Good.
Okay.
And that, yeah, because I looked back on my phone where I record all the rough ideas, and I found about a 3-year-old version of us kind of working our way through The Greater Good. But not at that point. It wasn't part of this concept, but it was kind of a song that we thought, oh, we should record this someday. Well, someday finally arrived.
So you kept it in bank till you had all the other songs to like mingle all together and then make the album.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, that's good. How is it to work with a band when you were mostly working solo in the past?
It took a few years. It took me probably the first 5 years in the band before I began to, really feel like how to work within a band. Because when you've had 14 years as a solo artist, actually more like 17 years now that I think of it, when you've had that much time as a solo artist, you've become accustomed to making all the decisions yourself, and everyone turning to you to get a yes or a no on everything. That's not necessarily how it works in a band, you see, and I had to kind of learn that.
Yeah, you have to be live in a democracy.
There's some days JY would look at me and just say, Gowan has to learn to play with others. And I eventually realized that what makes a band really ultimately work is that you get agreement within the group. That there's and sometimes if you disagree, if 3 out of 5 are feeling we should go this way, it's best to just go along because something good's probably going to happen. So that's how I changed my approach, was basically to kind of let things evolve as a collective mentality, and we always wound up in a really good place, and we're still together, and we still like each other, and we still are having a fantastic time on stage, playing in front of giant audiences. We just played last night, well, the night before, Denver, at the Pepsi Center, which is where the Colorado Avalanche play. Yeah. Although you don't want to mention the Avalanche too much in Quebec City, but anyway.
Yeah, the ancient Nordiques.
And it was a sold out show, and I'm just, we're looking at each other and we're still loving it, even though we do it so often. It's amazing just how happy living our lives this way makes us all.
So it still clicks, so that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. About the writing process of the concept, I understand that Tommy Shaw and Will Ivankovich wrote the concept, but was it a full? I don't know if you'll understand my question. Was the concept fully made when you were asked to contribute, or did you have the opportunity to add some stuff?
What I added, it was initially the concept was about a crew and their human interactions on a mission to Mars. Mm-hmm. What I interjected toward the end was the idea of let's take what happened to us in real life, about what I mentioned earlier about Pluto and the moon Styx around Pluto, and let's make that part of the story. So as the story evolves, when they get off Mars, instead of coming this way, they go the other way. They continue on, and that way, to my mind, it's a one-way trip. Highly unlikely they're going to make it back, but still they're determined to take it as far as they possibly can. And I mentioned that, look, and that's where the key dive suddenly came into the story, because Tommy then he always liked a piano piece that I had for a couple of years called Key Dive.
It's pretty good.
I was playing it actually in Styx shows for about 4 years.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, usually as an intro, I'd play it going into this song Pieces of 8.
Okay.
And then I never had a name. And then one day I was actually playing it for my dad, who just turned 93. And the name of his ship in the Second World War, he was in the Royal Navy, his ship was called the Key Dive. And so Tommy Shaw, he loved that idea, and he went, let's make that the name of the ship, and that's what continues on. And it goes by the moon Styx, and it replenishes and gets, resupplies. And, because it's, and we asked the guys at NASA, so what is the moon Styx made of? And they said, well, we're not really sure yet. And then we said, okay, well, how about this for the story? We'll just say it's really rich in resources. They said, sure.
Why not?
Why not? So, it's great that there was a little bit of reality and a little bit of fantasy where we're meeting in the story. And that's the little contribution that I made toward the story toward the end. And so that's really where my involvement was there.
Yeah, the future of brotherhood, as you sing.
Yeah, that's right.
How do you think a band like Styx can bring something new or different in 2017 compared to the 70s or 80s?
Well, it's funny, the mandate, the if you want to call it the mission of the band, is not necessarily to bring something new, but to make something old as good or better than ever. That really is the mandate of a band that's been around for nearly 5 decades now. I mean, this is year 45 for the group. It's pretty astounding. I think the challenge is to make it as good or better than it's ever been. And I think the greatest compliment I ever hear from people is when someone will come up and say, look, I was at the Paradise Theater tour in 1981, and I just saw you guys tonight, and you're just as good, if not better than ever.
That's a nice compliment.
It makes me really happy because it means that they've followed the whole course of the band, and they've yet to be let down by what they see and what they hear.
Mm-hmm.
So really, what our challenge was in making the mission was, let's make sure that it can stand alongside the great albums that the band made in the past. Albums that before I was even involved in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But let's make something that we feel is of a similar, quality, of an equal quality at least. And so that's really what we had to that's really what we have to accomplish. That and put on a really epic, dynamic show. And I guess with the number that we do and the way I see people's faces at the end of the night, I think we're doing that.
Well, you sure succeeded in making an excellent album, and you kept the original, the vintage Styx sound, if you like. And I like the way your sound goes sometimes through it. I like especially the songs that you sing in duets with Tommy Shaw. These are they're probably my favorite ones on the album.
Oh, thanks, man. That's great to hear. I think that it's funny. I think it took me this long to really find, as far as the recording goes, to really find my voice within the band, because we'd made a couple of other albums before, but one was a covers album, and then there was Cyclorama. But we never really blended our voices and traded off vocals and did things like that in the past. And I think those are my favorite moments on the record as well. So thanks for saying that.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's go more on your on the personal side, in your solo career. Pardon me, if you don't mind. If there was one thing that you still haven't done and wish that you could have, what would it be?
Well, it's to make another GOWAN album, isn't it?
That would be nice.
I haven't done that yet. Actually, I have been working on one for several years.
Oh, have you?
I haven't had the time to put it out, but I will. And honestly, I wish I could play as many GOWAN shows in the years as I play Styx shows. And I mean, last year, after I think 101 Styx shows, I was able to play 9 GOWAN shows, and they were all in Ontario.
Okay.
I've done a few in Quebec since 2010. I did one there. I did a couple there actually in 2011.
Yeah.
And I think I did one there in 2012. But I want to get back and play more of those, and hopefully after all these festivals that Styx do in August, the 4 in a row, there'll be another rise of GOWAN popularity to bring me back to Quebec again.
Well, we can say here in Quebec City that we haven't forgotten you. That's for sure.
Oh man, that's great. That's great to hear. We almost played a gig at the Capitol Theater last year. It was on the books, and I was really hoping to get to do it. But the funny thing is, our recording schedule is what finally got in the way.
Okay.
And so I had to miss it. But I'm telling you, I would love to do that at some point. Better sooner than later.
Because when we looked at the dates that you're touring in Quebec, in the province of Quebec, and you're going everywhere around Quebec City, but not directly in Quebec City, so we were all wondering why.
Not anything personal, believe me. No, it's I never quite understand to this day why they choose one place and not another. Obviously, it has something to do with whatever was available at the time, and who the booking people are, and why they choose to go to one place and not another. Mm-hmm. But no, I can tell you that Styx at the Colisée has been amazing. When we did the Festival d'été there, I think it was in 2010. I think that was one of the biggest crowds that Styx have ever played in front of.
I was there. I was in one of the first rows.
Oh, fantastic! Way to go!
Oh, I loved it.
Man. You're a brave man. Yeah. So no, we have nothing but love and great memories of playing Quebec City. And for myself personally, oh my God, I played the Agora. How many times did I play there? Probably 12 or 13, maybe.
Yeah, I saw you a couple of times there too. So I'm an old GOWAN fan, so I don't know if it's a company. Oh, thanks. No, I don't know if I'm getting old, but I'm still stuck to your music. It's still good it's good for me.
That is the best thing to hear. Thank you.
So my next question, you practically answered it. I was about to ask you if you were ever thinking of doing another solo album. So with all that you've told me there, I guess that it's going to come out pretty soon. Did you ever think of reissuing your solo albums either in remastered or in a box set?
Not in a box set. Two of them last year were acquired there's a new publishing company that also have a label, and they're called Olé. They're in Toronto, and they're in Toronto, Nashville, and New York. And okay. They acquired, along with the Rush catalog, because I was managed by the same people that managed Rush. They acquired two of my albums, and Lost Brotherhood and You Can Call Me Larry. Mm-hmm. And they reissued those, but only digitally.
Okay.
But they're they have brought up the notion of a box set. The difficulty with that is that it's two different labels that would have to cooperate on that. Actually, on this day, on the July 1st, I'm really happy that there's an album that just came out on Universal, mm-hmm. where they picked the top 150 Canadian songs of all time, and The Criminal Mind made it onto that album. So at least I'm pleased with that. We'll go from there and then start working on the box set.
Sure, why not? Or maybe reissue your first two albums. I'm just saying it like that. You never know.
We did reissue an anniversary edition of Strange Animal in 2010 because mm-hmm. it was the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And on that one, I put a little. There's a DVD on there as well that gave a little documentary on the making of that record. And then in 2012, we put out an anniversary edition of Great Dirty World, which is the third album with Moonlight Desires on it. Mm-hmm. And those are the only special box. Those are the only special packages I've put out in the last number of years.
Okay, so I hope someday you'll be able to, if the moons align, like they say in French.
Yes. If it's okay with the moon sticks, we'll take all 6 GOWAN albums and put them in one big fat box, and hopefully they'll end up under everyone's Christmas tree.
Well, I'll have it. That's for sure.
Even people who don't believe in Christmas.
I'll send it to you. Have it autographed.
No problem.
All right, thanks. Oh, happy Canada's Day, by the way.
Thank you. Same to you.
We're right in it, and there's festivities all over the country. So.
That's fantastic. Well,
oh yeah.
Bonne fête de nos pays.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna finish the interview with a little quiz. I'm gonna ask you a few more questions, but this time all I'll need is a one-word answer, and you can just skip or pass if you don't want to answer. How's that?
Excellent. Yep.
Okay. Do you think there will be another Styx album coming up in the near future?
Oui.
Okay. One word to describe the new album, The Mission?
Epic.
Oh, that's nice. Besides the album The Mission, which album do you prefer so far in all categories in 2017?
Oh, in all categories. Royal Blood. They have a new album.
Oh, interesting. Your favorite country or city you've played in?
Quebec City.
Oh, I wonder. I thought you'd answer that. Thanks.
Quebec City et Tokyo.
Tokyo? Okay.
Yeah. C'est entre les deux.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite track on the new album?
Oh, tough one. Locomotive.
That's good. Your favorite hockey team? Well, the Sens went pretty far this year.
C'est the Leafs de Toronto.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This one might sound weird, but Samantha Fox or Pamela Anderson?
Oh, Samantha Fox or Pamela Anderson?
Yeah.
Boy, these are vintage. These are good vintage questions.
They're for people our age, so that's okay.
I think. Well, Pamela Anderson, she's Canadian, so I'm going to keep it Canadian on this. Although I'm British too, so can I have both?
Sure.
Well, in that case, I'm going to take them both.
All right.
Yeah.
It's going to be a gift. We're going to send them in a package, a nice package.
my one-word answer is both.
All right. Michael Jackson or Boy George?
Oh, man.
They're not so easy, eh?
I think I'm...
Well, you can say both again.
I guess I'll go with Michael Jackson. I don't know. That's a tough one as well. They're both such good dancers.
Yeah, they're good. They're good artists too. They're good musicians.
Is this for music, or if I was picking a hockey team? If I was picking a hockey team, I'd go with Boy George.
Okay.
I think he'd make a better goalie.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Your favorite band of all time?
Beatles.
What was that?
The Beatles.
Oh, the Beatles. Okay.
Yeah, four guys. There's four guys from Liverpool.
Yeah. I know him pretty well.
You go on Wikipedia, you'll find all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah. It never ends. They're always adding new material and new information.
I know. New stuff coming out all the time.
I wonder how they do it.
I don't know.
So I know your touring schedule is pretty full, but you think that we might see you again in the next years in Quebec City?
I certainly hope so. My intention is that that will happen.
Okay. So thank you very much. We're at the end of this interview. For those of you who will listen to this interview on our website, remember the Styx concert dates, August 24th at the Cogeco Amphitheater in Trois-Rivières, August 25th at the Pointe Claire Fairview, August 26th at the St. Joseph de Beauce Truck Acceleration and Pull Festival, and August 27th at the Georges Vézina Arena in Chicoutimi. Thanks again for taking time for us fans, and we wish you lots of sold-out shows for this tour.
Oh, merci beaucoup, Marc. Je suis très hâte de retourner au Québec. Et, salut.
And we'll wait for you.
Excellent.
Well, thanks a lot. I really enjoyed the interview.
Me too, Mark. Great to talk to you. And whoever's at the extension 26, tell them I'm sorry. I left them a big message.
Well, they're going to be lucky. If they know who it is, they're probably going to keep it in their memory bank.
They'll hit delete right away, believe me.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Mark. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye now.